Hey,
What?
does anyone know? Go ahead, please. Yeah, Donna said she was going to be. Is that?
And I wondered if she was gonna be able to drive. She's on vacation. She's on vacation.
That's not a good time to break one's arm. Okay, Gloria? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Delaware Public Service Commission meeting of July 24th. It is known as the Tom Walsh Day here at the commission, because he has every item that's on the agenda. But before we get started, I see a smiling Jason Smith in the front row. So he's been probably told something special is going to happen today. I met Jason about 10 years ago, and I forget exactly what job he started at, but he's had about 3 or 4. He keeps advancing, doing a terrific job for the commission and for himself. Jason, we really do appreciate you, especially the parties, by the way. We like the parties. He does a great job organizing the parties, and he had a pretty good person to compete with on that because your predecessor was excellent at keeping the morale up and having a good social get-together upon occasion. So, Jason, I'd like you to come forward. We have a certificate for you to celebrate your 10th year of service. And so, on behalf of the commission, I'd like to say thank you very much. And I don't see all the photographers got pictures. And we also have a state of Delaware pen. A very nice looking pen, match look good on your suit, and we're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to being here on your 20th year too, as a guest.
Jason's first job was to take care of the commissioners. So he's earned that pin.
Wherever he's been, he's always done an excellent job.
Yes.
Gosh, while we're at it, I guess I will just say something I said in the staff meeting, which is that I am especially pleased with what happened in terms of the decision at FERC with respect to Artificial Island. The staff had a lot to do with that in terms of teeing that issue up and getting it going and pursuing it all the way to the end of the day, which happened to be a victory. However, I would also like to extend my thanks to Exelon Corporation, who provided a great deal of support on the issue at FERC and also at PJM. As we go forward, we hope to work hand in hand with them as we work to get a just and reasonable cost allocation for the citizens of the state of Delaware. And with respect to our meeting today, we have the consent agenda, which consists of 7 items. And is there any commissioner who'd like to have one of the items taken off or moved to the regular agenda? Commissioner Gray.
Mr. Chair, I think I have one question, but please bear with me and
Sure.
let me find it. I don't think it needs to be taken off. It's just one clarification. It has to do with Chesapeake Utilities and the valuation for purchasing propane companies. Did I get that right?
I believe so. Who is the staff member for this, Mr. Walsh? Jason Smith. Wow, he doesn't rest on his laurels very long, does he?
It's a very short question. It looks as though we're asked to consider a standard process for valuation. And I just am curious to know, is this a state-by-state request or an industry standard proposal?
Commissioner Gray, as far as I'm aware, this is would be a state-by-state. This is a request that's unique to Chesapeake. I'm not aware of any other commissions which have done any process similar to this to date, which is why we would be opening the docket to investigate it and vet the methodology that the company has proposed.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. And that responds to my question. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
How about a motion?
I hereby move that the Commission adopt the consent agenda as submitted.
I second it.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Walsh.
Chairman Winslow, may I just note one clarification? It's just a couple of typos regarding consent item number 6, which is Chesapeake's acquisition opening order. This is docket 18-0933. order, order in paragraph number 4, that should read Rule 2.1. It reads 2.1 as submitted, and paragraph 5 reads Rule 21 also should be 2.9. But they are non-substantive, and I think that will be submitted to you if it's not been sent already. But it makes no difference either as the Chesapeake's application or the import of the order, but I just want to get that clarification for the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walsh. The regular agenda, there's nothing on the regular agenda. There's nothing on the hearing schedule. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to make comment to the Public Service Commission? Mr. Bruja.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Under the Director's comments, we have Pam Knotts, who's going to give you a quick overview of staff's responses to the Office of U.S. Trade Representative. And when you hear the narrative, please don't make jokes at me. Go ahead. You'll understand why.
Good afternoon, Chairman Winslow and Commissioners. The Office of the United States Trade Representative, or USTR, has contacted the Commission staff regarding the World Trade Organization litigation by India regarding Delaware's solar renewable energy credit program, specifically the manufacturing bonus or credit multiplier on solar renewable energy credits, or what we also call as SRECs. The USTR represents the United States in the Committee on Subsidies and Countervailing Measures at the World Trade Organization, and they also monitor the members' obligations with respect to the World Trade Organization's agreements. India's questions raise the issue of whether Delaware's program is consistent with the United States obligations, which prohibits the provisions of subsidies contingent upon the use of domestic over imported goods. We were informed last week by the USTR that India has decided to move forward with the World Trade Organization litigation they initiated a few years back. India is challenging the aspect of the program that awards an additional 0.1 RECs for energy generated from installations that have 50% of the cost of renewable energy equipment from Delaware manufactured components. India alleges this discrimination against imported equipment is in violation of the World Trade Organization's rules. India's inquiry only pertains to the additional credit granted to Delaware manufactured panels, and the Delaware labor portion of the law is not being challenged. India's inquiry includes allegations against 8 other USA states that have similar renewable statutes. A hearing will take place at the World Trade Organization in the early fall, and the USTR is preparing written submissions to defend Delaware's position, as well as similar USA state programs targeted by India. If they lose, we'll have to consult with the USTR to determine the impact on Delaware. It could be negligible, or it could require a change in law. Currently, there is no solar panel manufacturing taking place in Delaware, the only manufacturer left in the fall of 2013. I can try to answer any questions you might have regarding this or to clarify anything that I said.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Knotts. I don't have
Thank
any
you.
questions. I don't know if anybody else does.
Okay, thank you.
One question.
Oh,
Is there anything required or requested from the commission at this time?
We've answered a series of questions of how our program works, and just explained and clarified basically to the representative we've been talking to.
So this was an informational item for you, action required.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next item is on the item that Chairman Winslow already mentioned about the FERC decision on artificial island cost allocation issue. We thought we may have to go into executive session on this, but we do not, because there's no legal advice that you need to, or action that you need to take. It's informational. The order recently came out. I just want to point out, FERC's order said in part FERC finds that it is unjust and unreasonable to apply PJM's solution-based defects cost allocation method to facilities that address stability-related reliability issues, end quote. So this is a good victory for us, but this morning we had a discussion with the lawyers and DC lawyers, and there's 60 days from the date of when the order was issued on July 19th to file comments, so 60 more days, and then depending on what other parties do, we'll have to see how it goes. But we do plan to file some comments, and we've not made a decision on how the comments will go, but we'll keep you informed about it as we go along. At this time, that's the only update I have. Yes, sir.
So this was a decision by FERC, but there is a future set of actions planned by FERC?
Correct. So
And
FERC
how do we engage in that aspect moving
Right, so
forward?
within 60 days, we're going to comment. FERC has given a couple of options, and there are a series of questions, and they require a series of questions answered in those two options of the cost allocation. And we'll be selecting one and then, or two, or we'll respond to those questions, and then we'll move forward. At this point, that's the best answer I can give.
Just to refresh the recollection of the commissioners, Delaware is the lead state in this particular matter, along with Maryland, who we quite often join up with because we see the issues similarly. And we filed the complaint at FERC. Now we're in the process of consulting with our expert with respect to the variety of choices we have, and trying to determine the best choice for the state of Delaware, the choice that we believe would be most appropriate and just and reasonable in terms of what Delaware should pay. And then we'll find out how many other parties agree with us and will go forward with us. Hopefully it will be the same number that are presently on board. Also, Exelon is involved in this in the sense that it's got a methodology it's put forth on the table with FERC. So we need to talk to our expert about that methodology, as well as the two methodologies that were put on the table by PJM, and hopefully come up with, it's not likely, I don't think, but hopefully come up with an agreement with respect to how to go forward.
And the DPA is one of those parties that's joined us. Just on terms of timeline also, since this next set of comments are not due for 60 days, we believe that by the time this whole issue gets done, it'll probably be end of the year. However, if any of the parties that did not like the decision appeal it, then that might take even longer. So.
Well, but the decision made by FERC, unless there's a stay,
Correct.
will be in place. And we have when we filed the complaint, we asked for a feedback or money back, so to speak, date, and we have that date effective way back at the beginning of our litigation. So whatever happens as a result of the placement of the order, then the appeal, and the appeal process, Delaware is protected with respect to the financial outcome.
Yes, sir. Did you have anything?
Does FERC currently, as of August 1st, have a quorum?
They have a quorum, but they don't have full. They have if you really want to do the politics, then they have 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats.
Yeah.
The 5th seat is empty. One of your former colleagues from the state commissions has left. News reports or newspaper reports or media basically are speculating, and because there's a Supreme Court nomination in play right now, this probably does not take precedent, and that's just.
Do not hold your breath about the appointment of a new commissioner. Mr. Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I would be remiss if I did not mention all the work that Ruth Ann Price has done on this. My Deputy Director, she's in charge of all of PJM for us, and I know she's been working on this for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw a shout out to her. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that. And I'm really happy you mentioned that because we don't see her. Used to see her quite often, but we don't. But I know that she's working very diligently in the background, and especially in a tough situation with the PJM stakeholders. So she's like incognito, but she's doing a great job. So thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you.
And also, Mr. Chairman, we would be remiss if we did not mention John Farber, our former staff member who did a lot of the work, groundwork.
And I think that Bob Howitt,
Yeah.
for all of his work as well. He's probably watching in today.
Hi, Bob.
Director's comments? Any
And
further-
then the next meeting is on August 7th. Commissioner Conaway, my understanding is he will not be present on
That's
August 7th.
correct.
Thank you.
And,
That's all I have.
Commissioner Drexler is on vacation, so if you're missing her, that's the reason for her not being present. And you'll see her next time. And then we'll be missing Commissioner Conaway for one meeting. So everyone have a great day. Enjoy the rain. Meeting's adjourned.